Stop. Don't buy that picks package or all access. Wait, what? Yep. Don't click add to cart until you check out our new deals page at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, where you can find all the latest offers, promotions, and coupons available all in one place. These deals are updated daily and can be found by clicking deals in the nav at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, going to wt.buzz/deals, or scanning the QR code on your screen.
4.
What's up, guys? It's tea time. The second major of the year edition, the PGA Championship, is here. I'm Nick Borrman of WagerTalk.com. With me, as always, my co-host Andy Lang to break it all down. Andy, second major of the year, PGA Championship. I feel pretty giddy right now. Tiger's back in the field. Phil's not. We'll get to that later. How you doing, my friend?
I am good. I'm doing better than Phil Mickelson's publicist at this point. I feel good, excited. I've been looking up this course. I feel like I got a good read. I feel very, very, very confident in my picks on this one, despite we haven't been at this course in a while. But I think there's some very predictable stats that will help us navigate and turn a profit. So could not be more excited about this tournament this week.
Listen, the majors are the obviously the best tournaments of the year, best fields, the most sought after prizes. But from a betting perspective, I have a love-hate relationship with it. It's there's so many options, right? But then at the same time, it's a little overwhelming. It's like when I go to Sherwin-Williams, I'm trying to pick a paint color and there's 55 shades of green. I'm like, can I just have 2 to choose from and I can pick it? I can't pick out of 55. So it's a little overwhelming, but we'll get into our bets here shortly. Before we get into the show, let's take care of a little business as always. We have a great promo going on for this week. Andy or myself's tournament pack you can get for just $19. So you use promo code PGA20, normally priced at $39. You're going to save $20 off the pack this week. So go over to WagerTalk.com, check that out. We'll have outright plays, leaderboard plays, matchups, of course. Andy will have his daily fantasy matchups in there as well. So a lot of action. I do have a 5% play. I think it's my third just so far this year, loaded in the pack as well. So a lot of good value. Definitely check that out. Head over to WagerTalk.com for either Andy or myself. That code again, PGA20. All right, Andy, let's get into our favorite segment to start the show, our best bets and worst bets from last week. Break it all down for us. How did you do last week? What was your best? What was your worst from the Byron Nelson?
Well, it was a bummer week before the tournament even started because I had such a great read on the event. I thought, and I had CT Pan to make the cut. He's been a made cut machine, and he withdraws before the tournament starts. We wanted to fade Brooks Koepka. He withdraws before the tournament starts. So I went 1-1. It was a ho-hum. So best bet's pretty easy. It's Alex Noren to be the top Swedish. This bet just keeps cashing over and over and over again. Yeah. And worst bet was Tommy Fleetwood top 40. He had to shoot -5 on Friday just to make the cut. It was one of those where unless you were at -15, you weren't going to sniff the top 40. So, ho-hum week. 2 of my bets, were over before the tournament even started. They got voided off. So what are you going to do? It's kind of a strange week for me.
Yeah, it happens, right? And it's okay. You move on. You put the money back in your pocket, and now you have it for this week at the PGA. My best bet of the week. Well, it wasn't my best bet. It was my worst bet, but I gave it out as my best bet. Was Sam Burns to finish top 20. He didn't play the weekend, so he showed up terribly. So apologize for that one. Did go 2-1 on matchups, both plus money winners there, and didn't hit the outright, but Hideki right there again had the lead at a chance. I mean, he was a little far behind coming on Sunday, so he was a couple holes ahead, but he was in full contention. He made a bogey. This is like the second time in the last couple of weeks where I wasn't watching, right? And I'm looking at my phone, checking the leads. This happened with Shane Lowry a few weeks ago. I texted you when that happened, Andy. So literally, as soon as I turned it on, he made double. As soon as I turned it on for Hideki, he makes bogey. And Cage Lee makes eagle, all within a minute. I'm like, and I did text you again. I'm like, what? I don't understand. So close, but no cigar. It's actually been frustrating. I didn't really realize this until Hideki this week, and I'm like, I feel like I've been close a couple times recently. And 4 out of the last 5 tournaments, I've either had the runner-up or a tie for third, and all of them have had the lead or been tied for the lead on Sunday in that back 9. So it's been very, very close. Kind of frustrating, but that's outright golf betting. It takes a lot of luck sometimes to get that winner. So hopefully we'll be able to find it this week. All right, let's get into the PGA Championship. As always, we like to start off with the Who's Hot Coming In graphic. This is the top 10 total strokes gained over the last 6 months. Heading into the PGA Championship. I mean, obviously it's a major, so you're going to have the best players in the world filling up this list. And, of course, we have Scotty Scheffler right there at the very top of the list, plus pretty much 2.5 strokes gained per round over the field average. Cam Smith, JT, John Rahm, Lowry, Cantley, McIlroy. It's a who's list, right? All the names you'd expect to see. I put a couple notables on here because Jordan Spieth, of course, with his runner-up and win finish in his last 2, is getting a lot of attention on the betting markets and is one of the favorites as far as prices goes. But if you look over his last 6 months, not that great compared to some of these top guys. But of course, he's all about momentum, so you might not care to even look at that. Colin Morikawa, I wanted to add in there because he's the only other guy in the top 10 that is not listed in here. He's number 3 and he's plus 1.57. And then Tiger, I had to put him in. We can't go a show without talking about Tiger if he's in the field. 818 on the official world golf rankings right now. Obviously only played the Masters, but did make the cut. So we'll get into him a little bit later. Andy, let's talk about Southern Hills. Let's talk about the golf course from a betting perspective. Let's talk about the fields. I'll start with you. What are some things that you want the viewers to know about the course, the fields, or anything there?
Well, first is I actually have my first 5% play of the year in golf up this week.
Excellent.
So yeah. Don't use a whole lot of them. I mean, this is only your third. My first is only 4 of them. So, we use them sparingly when we're really, really confident. So, okay. So what do we know about this course? Well, it's not like when they played it before. It's changed a lot. So I think, it'd be a little bit dangerous to look back at some of the course history. Like, for example, when Tiger won here in 2007, I believe it was, this is not the same course. It's not super long when you look at total yardage, but they made the par 5s over 630 yards. So these bombers are not going to get the opportunity to eagle all the par 5s like we see on some courses. That being said, they also have some shorter par 4s. But then they've got a few longer par 4s. But by far the biggest thing with this course, Nick, is the greens. They are very small, and we've seen pictures of some of the practice rounds out there right now. Very slopey. The runoff is crazy here. If you're not dialed in with these irons and wedges, the ball is just not going to stay on the green. So I think this is going to be one of those weird tournaments where strokes gained around the green is important. We don't normally focus on that stat, but I think there's going to be a lot of up and downs and saving pars that are going to be really big. The last 2 months, the top 5 in strokes gained around the green: Scheffler, McIlroy, Spieth, Matt Jones, and Cameron Young, for what it's worth. And with these par 5s being that long, you're going to have to use wedges. You're not going to be able to go for these in 2. So I think par 4s are going to be big. Par 4 scoring top 5 this season: Justin Thomas, Cameron Smith, Colin Morikawa, Oosthuizen, and Schauffele. So not really too concerned about driving accuracy. Approaches are big, but I think around the green is going to be big. Obviously, it's a major, so putting is always going to be one of the biggest things. But the greens by far, how can you navigate the greens? And Nick, I'm sure you're going to touch on it, but wind. It's down in Oklahoma. Wind going to be a factor. So it's just going to be a steady wind and then gusting up to 30 miles an hour Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Those are my takeaways on the course. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, very similar. I would say I think the distance, it can play up to 7,500 yards depending on how they set it. I think it will play a factor to some degree because remember, this is a par 70. So, it is only 2 par 5s. So there is a lot of yardage on some of those par 4s. Of course, they have a couple gettable ones. You have to. But par is going to be a very friendly score. It always is at a major. And I think you hit the nail on the head with the short game looks because, guys that can win majors are guys that can save pars. Saving pars, at a very tough venue is as important, if not more so, than making birdies, because nothing derails momentum worse than a bogey or a double when you're playing pretty well and all of a sudden you fall 2 shots back, because it's hard to make them up. There's not a lot of birdie opportunities out there. A course where you're like last week where you're shooting 25 under, if you make a bogey or two, the next 4 holes are all birdieable. Who cares, right? But that doesn't happen at these type of tournaments. So saving pars is very important. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'll get into it later when we get into my best bet. That's one important metric I looked at for my best bet this week. 2007, last time they had the PGA Championship here, Tiger, of course, the winner then. Another difference from this year to that year is the PGA was played in August back then. So we had high temperatures over 100 degrees. It was the hottest major on record when that tournament was played, and that was on Thursday and Friday. Temperatures were over 100 degrees. This year, much more modest. It will start in the 90s on Thursday, then high 80s on Friday with storms coming in the afternoon. So there's a possibility for some disruption of play for those afternoon tee times on Thursday, which is the huge pairing of Tiger, Rory, and Spieth teeing off at like 240, 250 or something like that on Friday afternoon. Not guaranteed, you don't know, but there is a potential there. Winds are a factor. You mentioned it. They're going to be 15 miles an hour on average Thursday, Friday, and into Saturday. So everybody's got to play a morning and afternoon wave, and it looks like both days are the same as far as afternoon waves, but definitely the morning's better, but you're going to have to go to the afternoon the next day. So I don't see a huge difference there from a wind perspective. There's a possibility that the Thursday AM, Friday PM wave might be a little bit of a disadvantage if they get delayed and have to deal with some weather on Friday afternoon with thunderstorms rolling through. So a little bit of a crapshoot there, but you don't really know. Saturday, cool, beautiful, and finishing with like the most beautiful day you could possibly imagine on Sunday. So a lot to figure out there. You mentioned the greens, Andy. If you look at just the square footage, they're not necessarily the smallest greens on the tour. They're average 5,000 square feet. You get down to a Pebble, which is like 35 or 3,600 square feet. It's significantly smaller on that avenue, but you mentioned the slopes. So what I like to look at a lot of times are, the golf course that I belong to and play all the time, we have greens, we call it a usable putting surface. So the putting green might be 5,000 square feet, but usable square footage is probably 3,000 square feet, because you got these slopes that you can't put a pin on. The ball's never going to stay on. So these greens are small when you look at that, because there are some crazy slopes out there that, the targets that you have to land the ball are very, very small. And that's a better way to look at it than just green size. So I think you're hitting a lot of the important things to look at this week with, iron play will always be important at a major. Drivers, if you're in the first cut, it shouldn't be too bad. But if you get out in the second and third cuts, and that's when you're missing by quite a bit, you're going to get penalized. But that first cut, you might be able to get away with it. But missing around the greens is going to be a big factor, and getting up and down will be important for sure. I'll mention 2 last little things here, just for those trying to figure out maybe outrights this week is over the last 10 PGAs. All right, only Jimmy Walker in 2016 and Phil last year ranked outside the top 21 coming in, and they were the only 2 with odds longer than 35-1 as well. So generally, it's a major. You don't see a lot of long shots coming through and winning. Doesn't mean they can't be a leaderboard bet or a good matchup bet, but just out as far as winning goes. And then hot coming in. So also worth noting is that other than Phil, no champion in the last 10 years has finished worse than tied for 28th in their previous start, and that was JT in 2017. Most of them have been like top 10, 5th, 4th, a lot of those. So they've been playing well, whether it's the week before or 2 weeks before, whatever it is. The tournament before the PGA, they've played well as well. So just a couple things to keep in mind there. All right, Andy, you ready to get into some of our bets for the week? I will start first with a mention of an outright play I'm looking at, and this is one I haven't bet on in a while, and that's Justin Thomas. It's weird to say I feel like JT is flying under the radar this week, but I kind of feel like he is. All the talk I keep hearing about is Spieth and Scheffler, rightfully so, but Thomas has been playing as well as anyone, tee to green. He just hasn't notched that victory, which I have to believe is coming sooner rather than later. He hasn't missed a cut this season. He's finished inside the top 20 in 9 of 10 stroke play events, including a whopping 7 top 10s. He finished tied for 8th at the Masters, coming in from a tie for 5th last week at the Byron Nelson. JT, he's never given a long number by the odds makers, but I feel this week he's gotten a slightly longer price thanks to a few other guys drawing more attention, which at 17-1, usually you see him 12, 13, 14-1. So slight value on JT this week. I think just with a lot of attention on him, I think he could be in contention. Again, that's all I want for my outrights is give me a chance on Sunday, and he might be able to pull through. So that's my first outright play of the week. Andy, I always love this segment with you. And for those viewers that don't or haven't listened to the golf show with us before, Andy, listen, just as important as finding the winners is knowing who not to bet on and who to avoid, maybe to fade or just to avoid altogether. And Andy's very, very good at finding those guys that he's avoiding. So he calls this the guys that can trip you up segment. So Andy, who are the guys you are not going to be betting on this week?
Well, when you got a major, you got to pick three big guns, three big names who everyone's going to like and why they're going to trip up. So last week I wasn't great. I said Scheffler and Spieth. I missed on those. In my defense, I did say Koepka was a guy to avoid. And then Koepka just avoided the tournament.
He avoided the tournament.
All right. Big name number one, guys that can trip you up. Cameron Smith. Cameron Smith, since 2016, he's played in 20 majors. 12 of those, he finished outside the top 50. He has 4 top 10s and 4 missed cuts. His last 5 PGA championships, Nick, his best finish is 43rd. So he's been terrible at this major. He had the collapse at the Masters. He played the next week, missed the cut, and we haven't seen him. So I wonder if that Masters collapse is going to still be bothering him. PGA championships have not been kind to him. Majors in general have been a little bit rough. He depends on his short game, which could work out really well for him. But I want nothing to do with Cameron Smith, and I may actually be betting against him. So you and I are going to disagree on this one, on this next one. Patrick Cantlay is my next guy to trip you up. In his career, he has 2 top 10 finishes at majors. Those were in 2019. In his last 10 majors, he has 8 finishes outside the top 20. I'm not sure why his game over the last few years has not translated to majors. You would think it would because he's got that great short game and putting. You know, he was on one of the best, putting streaks in recent memory, but for whatever reason, it just hasn't really worked in the majors. So this could be a good week, but if I'm looking at history, history tells me Cantlay's not going to do too well this week. And then Victor Hovland, love his smile, love his attitude, but he has more withdrawals in majors than he does top 10 finishes. Never finished top 10 in a major, and his last 3 finishes on tour are 27, 18, and 13. He was very hot earlier in the year, and we see this when guys get hot, they're always going to regress. So I'm wondering if Hovland has regressed, doesn't have a great track record in majors. And when I'm looking at 27, 18, and 33 as your last 3 finishes on tour, that doesn't give me a lot of confidence going into a loaded stack field at the major. So Cameron Smith, Patrick Cantlay, Victor Hovland, those are 3. Tiger's a runner-up. We'll just say Tiger's a runner-up. I'll go over some Tiger stats when you bring up Tiger Woods later in the show. So those are my guys I can trip you up.
Listen, it takes – I admire you for doing this segment because it takes cojones, especially when you got to – I mean, anybody can go down and pick Jonas Blixt as a guy to not bet on, right? But for you circling on guys that are, top 10 in the world or definitely top 20 in the world to avoid, it takes some cojones. And, there's plenty of arguments you can make against those guys. But I will say 2 of those 3, they're not on my betting card, and that's Cam Smith and Victor Hovland for a lot of the same reasons you said. And all 3 of them, you are right. They don't either have specifically good major records or PGA records, PGA Championship records. So, I don't blame you necessarily on any of those. The only one I disagree with, as you mentioned, and that leads me right into my next outright play for this show, is Patrick Cantlay. And you're right. He hasn't had the best results in majors, which is frustrating because personally, I don't like this play for my own betting history with Patrick Cantlay. I always seem to get the timing of him wrong. I choose him when he doesn't pull through and then leave him off when he does. But the reason I have him on for me this week is I feel like there's nobody better out there as far as riding a hot streak than Patrick Cantlay. Last year, I mean, he proved it right there at the FedEx Cup. He goes tied for 11th in the first event, and then he wins the next two to win the FedEx Cup. Okay. He started this year. You mentioned that putting this year. He had a burst where he went 4th, 9th, tied for 4th, 2nd. And he legitimately, and I had him, I think in 2 of the 4 tournaments, had a chance to win all 4 of those. He was close to winning all 4. He didn't win any, but he was right there in all of them. Then he kind of fell off for a few tournaments. And now he's coming in off a runner-up at the RBC Heritage, lost in that playoff to Spieth, and then followed that up with a win at the Zurich Classic, which, of course, was a partner's event with Xander Schauffele, but still, they were lights out, and he played very, very well. And, again, he's just proven that he can ride momentum. But then when he does fall off, it usually falls off pretty hard. So hopefully that's not this week, but he has proven that he can ride those momentums. He's another guy that really doesn't have a big weakness in his game, which you mentioned. It just hasn't translated to majors for whatever reason, but he's got positive stroke gain numbers in all 5 statistical categories that they measure that. He ranks 17th off the tee, 17th around the green. You mentioned that'll be important. 18th tee to green, 27th in putting, and number 10 in scoring average. So, Patrick Cantlay, please show up in a major this week. I'm betting on you. I think it's going to happen. You're on a hot streak. Don't disappoint me. So, Patrick Cantlay, it's the only one I'll disagree with, Andy, but I like your list. Let's go back to you. DraftKings darlings. I love listening to your the guy. You do a great job here too of finding the value guys that are down here. This is where are you betting on Jordan Spieth? Okay, he's probably not in the field. I keep throwing that name out there because he's the one guy that's like nobody would ever bet on.
I don't think he made it this week.
You find great names in this list to throw in your DraftKings lineup. So I'm very interested to hear who you have. So who are you looking at in your darlings this week?
Okay, well, in the majors, I always include my DraftKings lineups as part of the golf pack. So I have this best lineup, and then I have a stars and scrub, and then I'll put another one up just a little bit later. Where does this graphics team come up with this stuff? What is that? I can send you I can send you a picture. You don't need to. So good. That's so good. Just got to learn it that the picture stays. All right. So let's start off with, I think there's some great values this week. I actually had to narrow it down. Normally I'm searching, but I will start with Harold Varner, who is at 7,000 on DraftKings. So Varner has made the cut in 5 straight tournaments and also 3 straight PGA championships. His numbers for the season aren't great, but over the last 3 months, when I narrow it down to 3 months, they're good. Plus 1.35 strokes gained, plus 0.67 strokes gained approach, and plus 0.82 strokes gained tee to green. So at 7,000, we're just looking for a guy to make the cut and get his points on the weekend. Up next, I'm going to take Billy Horschel. He's another made cut machine. He's 7,400. You take out the withdrawal at the Players, and he's made the cut in 17 straight tournaments. He's 7th in putting this season, 27th in greens and regulation, and 13th in strokes gained. And he has made the cut at 8 straight PGA championships. So I think Billy Ho at 7,400 is a bargain. He should get you some points here on the weekend. And then I just can't quit you, Tommy Fleetwood. 7,600. This is all about the price here. If he was 8,600, maybe not, but 7,600. He wasn't great last week, but he did make the cut. Before that, 5 straight top 22 finishes in a row. This is, I think I'd have to go back, but I think between him and Shane Lowry, these are their 2 best seasons on the PGA Tour. They both have been running consistent and in the top 25. He's made the cut in 15 out of the last 17 majors he's played in. And in 2022, he's top 40 in almost all of the big strokes gained categories. So if I start with Varner, Horschel, and Fleetwood, that gives me a really, really good opportunity to add some bigger names. And I know you're going to like this, Nick. That gives me enough for Matthew Fitzpatrick, Shane Lowry, and world number 1 Scotty Scheffler. I can squeeze Scheffler in this lineup. So Varner, Horschel, Fleetwood, Fitzpatrick, Lowry, and Scheffler. That is my best DraftKings lineup for this week.
Dude, that's a legit lineup. I spent a good hour, maybe 45 minutes, but on Horschel last night, just like really honing in on him and trying to figure out if I wanted to bet him on the outright, to be honest. So seeing him priced at 7,400, all 3 of those names in I feel like a standard week are in the 9,000 range at least, if not higher. So it's crazy to see what the prices are in a major that's, obviously so strong with the field. So that's a great lineup. I love the way all those guys are playing. Fairway Jesus, we've joked about in the past, was a guy that we didn't bet on, but he's been playing great this year. So I love your lineup. Those are great names. Those are great names. Let's get into our best bets for the show, Andy. I will go first, and you mentioned it at the beginning of the show when we were breaking down the course of how important scrambling will be. And my best bet this week is on a guy that is a scrambling wizard, and that is Shane Lowry. I got him as a top 20 right now. Bet 365, top 20. He's plus 140. I think he's plus 120 at DraftKings, so you can shop around and see where you can find him. But he's in the plus numbers. If you made this bet on Lowry on his last 9 stroke play tournaments worldwide, you would have won this 8 times. So he's only finished outside the top 20 once in his last 9 stroke play starts. And the time he did, he finished tied for 24th. So he was right there. He's finished tied for 3rd in each of his last 2 individual starts, including the Masters and the RBC Heritage, which he had that lead I mentioned already in the back 9. And I turn it on and he double bogeys and blows his chances, but he still finished tied for 3rd. One of my favorite parts about his game, Andy, is that scrambling. His short game is just so good. He ranks number 2 on tour in sand saves, number 2 in scrambling, and number 13 in strokes gained putting. So the guy can chip it, and he can get up and down from anywhere. Oh, and there's one other stat that could prove important this week. Lowry is number 1 on tour in proximity to the hole this season. So there's a lot of numbers pointing at Lowry this week, and he's been backing him up. He hasn't won. That's why I'm not betting him on the outright, but he's been getting the results, and he's right there all the time. So top 20 plus money on Shane Lowry this week, I think is a great value play. So, Andy, your best bet of the week. Who are you looking at?
Well, I'm going back to a juicy play. The juicy plays have been working for me. And by the way, Nick, you were talking about Billy Horschel. He's minus 200 to make the cut. All you got to do is make the cut. Minus 200 is not terrible. Not terrible.
I don't think he's missed a cut this season. I'm
no,
pretty sure
he has the withdrawal. But other than that, 17 straight missed cut. The only guy that's got more consecutive made cuts is Justin Thomas, who you mentioned earlier. So Thomas has the record right now. He's smart because he avoids the Zurich Classic because that dings your record. If you miss the cut at the Zurich Classic with your partner, it counts as a missed cut for you. Awesome. All right, my best bet, Hideki Matsuyama to finish inside the top 40. I have found this at minus 180. Nick, Matsuyama has played in 9 PGA championships and has finished top 40 in every single one of them. 9 in a row. In his last 20 majors, he's finished top 40 in 18 of them.
Wow.
That is incredible.
Yeah. That's 90%.
18 out of
90%.
20. Yes. And if you take out his withdrawal at the Valero, don't count that. That was the week before the Masters. That was that tournament where he went out and played around and then needed to get to Augusta as the defending champ. Don't worry about that one. Made the cut 8 straight PGA championships and 9 straight events on the PGA Tour. So he's got great form. He's got great history at majors, great history at the PGA Championship. This top 40 at minus 180, in my opinion, is a bargain.
Listen, I love Hideki. I had him last week. I thought he was going to pull through for me, so I love that play. I didn't realize those numbers on him. Every PGA and 18 out of 20 majors in the top 40, so definitely great value trends to find. And it just proves Hideki's game is more than good enough to play these in the most difficult conditions and golf courses and the deepest fields in the world. So great play there. And I wish you good luck on Hideki. Hopefully he's in the contention come Sunday. So that's it. That's the show, Andy. We got all that.
Whoa, that is not the show.
Should we talk about the I feel like there's something we forgot. I'm not really sure. Maybe I don't know. Is there another guy in the field that we forgot to mention?
Is there a roar? Is there a growl? Is there looking at you sounds there you go.
All right. I'll let you take the lead here, Andy. What's Tiger doing this week?
All right. Well, he has 2 top 25 finishes in PGA Championships since 2010. This isn't Augusta. This course is very different from when he played here and won in 2007. He's different. That being said, I was surprised he made the cut at Augusta, but then what we saw is he just fell apart physically, and I'm not really sure how he navigated that. And the big question is, he knows Augusta better than pretty much any other course in his career, I would say. Like, he just knows that thing inside and out. He knew how to hit every shot. And I just wonder if playing a course that he's not used to, and obviously he's been practicing there, I just wonder if this is going to be a little bit too much for him. I kind of hope he makes the cut because I would like to bet against him in round 3 and round 4, if that makes sense.
Yep.
But I'm going to see what he looks like in round 1. I'm not going to make any bets on him prior to the start, but I will be keeping an eye on how that leg is looking and seeing how he plays. Remember, this is windy. The Masters did not have, it wasn't windy. He didn't have to deal with some of that stuff. So I think this is going to be a much, much different one. I don't have high hopes for him. But like I said, if he makes the cut, I will be more than happy to fade him on the weekend. What do you got?
Yeah, we were fighting. I'll say fighting. I don't know if that's the right word. We were definitely arguing about how Tiger's results in the Masters, and I said he'll make the cut. And because of what you said. I mean, it's Augusta. He knows Augusta. He's never missed a cut there in 19, now 20, whatever it is, professional starts, 21. So it's just, you have the course knowledge. You know the place inside and out. You have an advantage there. When you lose that, it's a major disadvantage, and that's this week, at Southern Hills. Yeah, he won here before, but it's not a course these guys are playing every single year. So, and with changes being made, sure, he's out here. He's got a couple practice rounds in, but it's not the same. It's not Augusta. So I actually threw a little bit of money on him to miss the cut this week, and I actually hope I lose the bet because I don't want him to. I want my heart. I love Tiger. I want to see him do well. So it's kind of weird. My money, if I'm sad because he missed the cut, hey, I made some money. And I didn't bet a lot, so if he does make the cut, I still have a rooting interest. I'm like, that's all right. It's only a couple bucks, no big deal. So I kind of have maybe it's a lose-lose, maybe it's a win-win. I don't know which way to look at it, but I did put a little money on him to miss the cut because his advantage of knowing the course is not here this week. But I hope I'm wrong. I want to see him there on the weekend. I was reading something yesterday. BetMGM, I don't know if you saw this, announced that they have so much money on Tiger Woods this week. And it just proves that the sports world is just enamored with Tiger Woods. And no matter where he's in the field, he's going to get attention, right? So if Tiger Woods wins the PGA Championship, it will be the single biggest loss they've ever had on any sporting event ever.
They're fine.
Isn't that crazy?
BetMGM will not be filing for bankruptcy anytime soon. They're going to be okay.
That wasn't the point, but I hear you. But the point was, it just shows you how many people still love the guy and want to bet on him. So, I guess I've learned over the years, it's usually good money to bet against the public. So I'm going to miss the cut. Hopefully I'm wrong, though, and I'd rather see him there on the weekend. So good luck, Tiger. Let's wrap up the show. Andy, any last notes on anything for the viewers?
No, it's a great week of golf. We got the promo code up. That's good for both of us. We both have 5% plays. So I expect to come back next week and for you and I to have really successful weeks. Should be a great tournament, a lot of fun, and a lot of profits coming our way this weekend.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the recap week, hopefully with the news from this week. So you mentioned it, the promo code this week, PGA20. Save $20 on the pack for either Andy or myself. A 5% play is included in that pack, which normally is priced at $35 by itself. So definitely great value in our packs for this week. Next week, we will be back. I know they're playing, where are they playing? They're playing at Colonial, which is another actually very, very good golf course. So we'll be back next week as we preview the Charles Schwab Challenge. Andy, as always, thanks for coming on. Thanks for doing this with me. On behalf of WagerTalk.com, thanks for tuning in, guys, and we will see you next week.
Stop. Don't buy that picks package or all access. Wait, what? Yep. Don't click add to cart until you check out our new deals page at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, where you can find all the latest offers, promotions, and coupons available all in one place. These deals are updated daily and can be found by clicking deals in the nav at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, going to wt.buzz/deals, or scanning the QR code on your screen.